Hi everyone, my name is Amber, welcome back to my channel. This is my massive post-summer book haul. I haven't posted a book haul in a few months. I was on a bit of a restricted book purchasing phase of my life, and then work got very stressful, and I'm sure you're all sick of me saying that because I say it in every single video, but that has been what's happening. And so I have been buying some books. Some of these were gifted and some of these were from the library, but for the most part I bought all of these myself. I have a lot here to show you. I have probably put in the title how many books I have here. I haven't actually counted yet because I'm a bit scared to, but this is an accumulation of books that I purchased from about March up until now. I'm going to start off with books that I have already read because then I can talk about them. Starting off, we have Fourth Wing by Rebecca Yarros. My copy doesn't have a dust jacket because I bought this when the books were sold out everywhere, and I found a very cheap copy on Amazon Marketplace, and it was super cheap because it didn't have a dust jacket and I didn't really care. It's displayed on my shelf like this. I think it still looks quite nice. You've still got the dragon there. If I look on eBay in a few months, I'm sure there will be a dust jacket that I can purchase if I really want to. So everyone knows what Fourth Wing is about. I will be doing a video recap on my channel very soon. I just need to plan that out properly because I think it needs some planning in order for it to make sense. In short, the main character goes to Dragon Rider College, and there is a series of trials that she has to pass in order to bond with dragons. And of course, because this is a fantasy world, there's betrayal, a war going on, her brother is dead, her mother is really strict, and the general, and there's a romance as well. It's kind of a romantasy, although I've not read enough romantasy to say whether that is accurate. I've heard some people say that it's not. It's mainly just a new adult fantasy book. I don't know, but I enjoyed it. I also picked up a copy of Crown of Feathers. I've already read this book as well, like I said, and I gave it 5 stars. I actually already owned a paperback copy, but I went ahead and bought the hardback edition because the sequels are really difficult to find in a normal UK size paperback. I'm not sure if the publisher, which I think was Simon & Schuster, continued publishing them in the UK in the usual UK format. You can see here, book 2, you can't really tell, is a really tall US paperback, and I don't like that, so I'm now collecting the series in hardback. I gave this one 5 stars. I loved it. It's about Phoenix Riders, so I didn't actually plan to follow it on from a dragon riding book, but that's what's happening. I would highly recommend this actually if you enjoyed Fourth Wing. I met the author recently and she signed this for me, so I'm really grateful for that. I also picked up a copy of Belladonna. I read this one from the library last month, I think, and I really enjoyed it. I wasn't expecting to love it so much. I only picked it up because I needed to recap it for Recaptain. Someone requested it from me, and so I went ahead and did that. But I love this. This is a book about a woman called Signa. It's YA, who is an orphan. Her parents died when she was a baby, and she has been passed from relative to relative, but these relatives keep dying as well, and she feels like death is following her, literally. And she goes to live with some cousins, and the mother of that family has died, and the spirit of that mother goes to speak to Signa and says that she has been murdered, so Signa needs to look into who killed her. So it's kind of like a historical gothic murder mystery with a bit of fantasy as well. I loved this. I'm tempted to reread it before the sequel comes out this coming week, but I don't think I'm going to get around to it, unfortunately. But yeah, really enjoyed this and I really want to reread it, which is why I bought myself a lovely hardback copy. I also bought volumes 2, 3 and 4 of Giant Days, the graphic novels. I read these back in February during my 28 books in 28 days challenge, and I love this series. I finished it off I think in April or May, and I did get them all from the library, but I've decided to purchase them for myself because I'm probably going to want to reread them. These are set in the UK. They're about 3 university students. It starts off in their first year of uni as they meet and get into shenanigans, and it's just really lovely and heartwarming, and I really enjoy them, so I'm going to collect this series. I found these in a charity shop actually for fairly cheap. I'm really pleased about that. I also picked up Glow by Amy Kathleen Ryan. This one came out ages ago. It's an old school YA book, and it's a sci-fi about a girl. Hang on, I don't know how much is. Okay, yeah, so the main character is part of the first generation of children who have been born in space. They live in a spaceship, and then one day a stranger arrives. I loved this one when I first read it, and I was recently thinking about how much I really want to get back into sci-fi, and I realised I haven't recapped this one for my website, so I decided to go ahead and pick this one up so I can reread it, hopefully love it as much as I did before. get my hands on the sequels and also recap it for Recaptains. I quite like this cover, but the sequels actually don't look like this. They've got different covers, which is quite annoying. I really wish publishers would stop doing that. I also bought The No Show. I found this in a charity shop for £1, and I had read The Flatshare by Beth O'Leary before, and I'd also read The Switch. I loved The Flatshare but didn't like The Switch, so I wasn't sure which way this was going to go, and I ended up giving it 5 stars. This is so good. It's about 3 women who are all stood up by the same guy on the same Valentine's Day. Throughout the book you learn a little bit more about what was going on, about these women, and also about the guy who ended up standing them up. And that's all I want to say about it. I love this. The twist in this was also amazing, and I sobbed on the beach while I was on holiday when I read this. It's very, very good. I would highly recommend it. Girl Made of Stars. This one I also gave 5 stars. I read it as an ebook back in the day. So this is about a main character who is a teenage girl. She has a twin brother, and her twin brother is accused of raping her best friend. The book kind of follows the main character as she is kind of dealing with this news and figuring out how to feel, because obviously she loves her brother but she also loves her best friend. It's very heart-wrenching. I love this. Like I said, I gave it 5 stars, and it's one that I definitely want to reread in the future. This is by the author of Delilah Green Doesn't Care, I think is the title, which I also really enjoyed, but I actually love this one a lot more. I also picked up Carrie Soto is Back. I was waiting for the paperback to come out because I've got all of Taylor Jenkins Reid's books in paperback, at least the ones that I own are all in paperback. This is about a tennis player who previously retired for reasons, and then she comes back when someone is threatening to take her title away from her. I love this one. It was so good, and I can't wait to reread it, hopefully sometime soon. I did want to reread it earlier this summer, but it's been kind of rainy and I feel like this is like a sunshine sort of book. Finally, for the books that I have already read, I picked up Lore Olympus Volume 3. This one is the 3rd volume in a graphic novel series, which is also published as a webcomic online for free, so you can go and read it without buying these, and it follows the story of Hades and Persephone in kind of a more modernised setting. I really like this. I have actually caught up with all of the webcomic stuff bar the last few weeks, I think, so I'm a little bit behind, but I went beyond where these graphic novels are at, but I'm still buying them anyway because I really enjoy them. I really like the art style as well. It's very colourful and I really like it. Okay, and now we're on to books that I haven't read yet. So I have split these up into some sorts of category and order. Let's dive in. First of all, I have Killers of the Flower Moon. This one is kind of like a true crime, true story sort of thing. It's being turned into a film with Leonardo DiCaprio that's coming out I think in October, and I wanted to try to read this before that comes out, so this is going to be on my September TBR. I don't really know much about this, but I think it's kind of a story of greed and oil tycoons and them destroying the land and killing people for it. I think the people living on this land where the oil has been discovered are Native American, and they start to be killed off, probably by rich people. I am looking forward to reading this. It's not something that I know much about, but I'm very intrigued. I bought a copy of The Lovely Bones for my partner because he's never read this, and my best friend and I decided that he needs to be tortured. I read this years ago when I found it in a charity shop because that same best friend recommended it to me. It ruined my life, and I'm kind of considering reading it again. This is basically about a teenage girl who was murdered, and the ghost of the murdered girl kind of comes back and watches the aftermath and how her family is affected by her death. Really liked it. It's really sad, but I've just realised this should have been in the other category actually, because I really like this one and I've already read it. Picked up a copy of Rebecca. This one is obviously a gothic classic, and I picked this one up because, well, it's not really because, but I picked it up because it's a really cute edition, but also I'm going down to Cornwall in September for my first honeymoon. I say first because we're having a follow-up one in 2 years time when we have a big wedding, but this year we're getting legally married, as in like signing the registry, and we're celebrating by going down to Cornwall, and I've never been down that way. But this is about a guy who takes the main character whose name I do not know. I don't know if it's even said, to his Cornish mansion, and I think the man's first wife was called Rebecca, hence the title. I don't know anything else about it, and considering it's a very popular classic, I'm surprised I haven't been spoiled for this, but I'm very pleased by that. I'm looking forward to reading this in September. My friend Justine sent me a copy of The Pallbearers Club. This is her ARC edition. I really enjoy some of Paul Tremblay's stuff, so I asked her if I could have this when she was giving it away. This is a horror book of some sort. I'm not really sure what the exact premise is, but it's told in mixed media format, and there is like annotations and stuff throughout the text, so I'm very interested in reading this one and seeing how it goes. Paul Tremblay's books have been a bit hit and miss for me, but I'm very intrigued by this one. I'll see how it is. I also picked up Her Majesty's Royal Coven. I tried to read this in time for the sequel coming out a little bit earlier this year, but I didn't unfortunately get around to it, but I'm looking forward to reading this one very soon as well. I think this is some sort of historical fiction book about a secret society of witches. I Inanna. I don't know how to pronounce this. I picked this one up on a whim from Waterstones because I just really like the cover, and also it's a story that I've not really read much about. This is about a goddess in ancient Mesopotamia. It also features Gilgamesh in some way as well. I don't really know much about these myths, but I'm looking forward to reading this one and learning more. It's the first book in a trilogy as well, so I really hope I enjoy it so I can get stuck into another mythology series. That would be really cool. I bought Castles in Their Bones, and I also recently met this author as well, and she signed it for me. This is about an empress who has, I think, 3 daughters, and they're all married off to princes of various kingdoms. I don't really know much about the plot itself. It's that the author said that it's something about like the sisters getting power from the stars or something. I don't really know much else about it, but I'm looking forward to giving it a try. I bought The Stranded because I've been seeing this one everywhere. This one is set on a luxury cruise ship. People have been stuck on it for 40 or so years, and I think the main characters are trying to liberate everyone on the cruise ship for various reasons. The government probably aren't very nice. It's being pushed everywhere. I've seen so many blog tours for this book, but I haven't seen anyone on Booktube talk about it, so I'm not really sure what to expect, but to be honest, the hype got to me, so I thought I would give it a go. I also bought The Stars Undying. This one is some sort of science fiction book, interstellar conquest tales, I think. It says here that the interstellar empire of Sao has turned its eye towards the planet of Sayet. The princess and prophetess of Sayet is prepared to invite the conquerors in. Something about regaining her own planet. It says that this is for readers of Anne Leckie and Arcady Martin, inspired by the empires of ancient Rome and Egypt, and that casts the story of Cleopatra among the stars. I didn't actually know that this was inspired by Cleopatra, but that's very, very interesting to know. I am looking forward to reading this one soon. I also picked up a copy of Ash Princess because this is by the same author of Castles in Their Bones. The author signed this one for me as well, and she said that this one with the floppy cut out here is a first edition, which is really cool. I actually have this book already from NetGalley, but I've not read it yet, which is my bad. I've got no idea what this is about apart from the main character being the daughter of a fire queen who I think was murdered, and I think this princess has to inspire an uprising and save her kingdom. I've heard really good things about this. It's been likened to Throne of Glass, which I am currently rereading and really enjoying, so I'm looking forward to giving this one a go. A Taste of Gold and Iron. This one was also given to me by my friend Justine. This is an ARC copy that she received and no longer wanted. I have this one from NetGalley as well, and I just thought I would get my hands on the physical copy when she was offering it up because I'm doing better at the moment with physical copies of books. This one is a queer fantasy. There are 2 guys. I think one is a prince and one is a soldier, maybe. I don't really know much about it. I don't know if this is sort of a romantic-y sort of thing as well. I'm looking forward to reading this one soon. Probably not very soon because I've got a very ambitious TBR coming up, but sometime soon for sure. Labyrinth Lost. I picked this one up from my work's book swap, which I set up basically as a way of getting new books. I don't know much about this other than it's about witches, and I have read a book by Zoraida Cordova before and I really enjoyed it. I think this is going to be a very good fantasy book. And then I also picked up Bitter Blue by Kristen Cashore and Winter Keep, also by her. So these are the 3rd and 4th books in the Graceling series. I read Graceling years ago, Fire as well, the 2nd book. I read quite a while ago too, and I never got around to Bitter Blue, so I found this one in the works for like £3. And then Justine sent me this one. So I'm finally planning on finishing off this series sometime soon, so I'm glad I've got these to hand. I might try and do this by the end of the year, now that I'm back in the mood for YA fantasy. Okay, and now we need to start tackling these piles. I think what I'm going to do is start here. That seems the safest. So these ones are sci-fi books for the most part, although I know there was some sci-fi in here as well. This first one is called Those Left Behind. This is the first book in a trilogy. I don't know lots about this one, but I think in this galaxy the main character's planet is dying and she has to kind of captain a ship to try to take people to safety. I think there's a lot of politics in here as well. It's my favourite kind of space opera. I haven't heard much about it. A few people on Twitter that I follow have actually read this and really enjoyed it, so that gives me hope. I do think I might quite like it, but I've not seen it spoken about at all on Booktube. The same goes for this one, No Feck Gloss. This is the first book in a trilogy as well, and my friend really enjoyed this one. This is another one that's kind of about a destroyed planet or a dying planet, and the main characters have to try to find a new home. It says here that there are daring space battles and impossible technology. It says that it's Becky Chambers crossed with Firefly, and like I said, my friend really enjoyed this one, so I hope that I like it too, because it's because of them that I picked this one up. I hope it's good, and then I can get stuck into a new sci-fi series. I also picked up Paradise 1, which I think I've included in a TBR before. This one is a space horror. It's about people going to investigate why people are dying, and I'm going to read this one in September as well, I think, because I want to read it as part of a horror reading vlog that I want to get up in October. So yeah, I should be reading this one very soon. I'm very excited. Foundation by Isaac Asimov. This is obviously a classic. I actually have no idea what this book is about. I have not been spoiled, so I'm not going to read the back of it because I don't want it to accidentally give something away, assuming that I already know the plot of this. But I know that it's also a TV show, so I'm hoping to read this soon and then watch the show and see what it's like. It's not a very long book at all, and I think it's part of a series if I remember correctly. So I'm very interested in seeing if I enjoy this. And then I found a few Adrian Tchaikovsky books in a charity shop for quite cheap. 2 of these are from the charity shop and 1 is bought brand new. So I acquired The Doors of Eden for £1, which is amazing. This is about parallel worlds, I think, and portals between them. I don't know much else other than that, and to be honest, his synopses sometimes confuse me, so I'm not going to read anymore. And then I also picked up Cage of Souls. It says here that the sun is bloated, diseased and dying perhaps. The last of all cities harbours fewer than 100,000 human souls. It's a museum, an asylum, a prison on a world that is ever more alien to humanity. I always love his world building. I say always, but I've only read 2 of his books, but I'm very much looking forward to this one. Also, I love the cover. As you look more and more into it, I just love the details here, and it's kind of creepy, and you've got like creepy sloths and stuff among the trees, so that's really cool. I'm looking forward to reading these 2. And then I also picked up Children of Memory, which is the 3rd book in the Children of Time series, the one about the sentient spiders. The 2nd book is one that I'm currently in the middle of. That's about sentient octopi, and I don't know what this one's about. It says explorers from the stars have come in secret to help, so I don't know, maybe it's other humans or something. Another sci-fi book I found at the charity shop for £1 is Adrift. I actually got this one from NetGalley as well and just didn't get around to reading it in time for the release. This one is set in a luxury space hotel, and then I think someone tries to destroy the ship hotel sort of thing, and it's a sort of sci-fi survival thriller, so I'm really looking forward to reading this one as well. Now that I'm talking about them, I'm really in the mood for some sci-fi, so I might do sci-fi month. I think, is that in November or September? I'm going to move on to literary books now, I think, and then finish off with a massive round of fantasy. I know I've shown some fantasy books already, but it's a struggle to sort all of these, so yeah, let's go with literary historical sort of fiction first. Starting off, I have A History of Burning. I bought this one on a whim. I have seen it around quite a bit, and I've seen some really good reviews for it, so when I was in the mood to buy it, I decided to do so. This one is set in India in 1898, I think. The main character lives in India, and he is taken to the continent of Africa in order to do labour for the British on the East African Railway. And then I think it goes on to follow generations of his family and descendants, which is a storytelling technique that I absolutely love. So I'm really looking forward to reading this one very soon as well. Now that I'm talking about it, I want to pick it up right away. I think it's going to be very emotional, and it's a debut as well, so I'm always happy to support a debut author. I've got Portrait of a Thief. This one I believe is some sort of heist story. I haven't really read too much of the synopsis because I'm a bit scared to, but my friend really enjoyed this one. I'm sorry if you can hear that noise, by the way, someone is doing gardening. It says here that the main character, Will Chen, plans to steal back priceless pieces of art looted from other countries and continents. If they succeed, his crew will earn $50 million and a chance to make history. I think this sounds really fun, and I can't wait to read it. In the charity shop, I also picked up The Dog Share. This is a romance book about 2 strangers and 1 dog. I read a bit of the beginning where the main characters sort of meet. It seems to be a kind of bickering rivals, enemies to lovers sort of thing. Not true enemies to lovers, of course, because it's just a romance book. It's not a fantasy. I think this one will be a really quick, fun read. I also picked up The X-Talk from a charity shop, which is great because I'm doing a project on reading Rachel Lynn Solomon's books. This is her first adult romance book, and this is about radio hosts who are also exes, and they give relationship advice on the radio. Wish lists and road trips. This one is about 2 stranded travellers and 1 unexpected journey. It's set in Costa Rica, and that's all I need to know. It's a romance book, so I kind of know what to expect. My Mechanical Romance. This is by Olivia Blake, but under a different name. This is her YA debut, I think. It says here that the main character has a talent for engineering at school and joins the robotics club and then meets a guy. Graduation is approaching, their differences and what they want for their futures threatens what they've built together. I think this will be really cute. What I'm less sure about being cute is Twisted Love by Anna Huang. I picked this one up because it's a TikTok book and I need to read it so that I can recap it for Recaptains, because someone lovingly requested a recap from me. I don't think I'm going to like this one. I'm just going to put it out there. If I do, then I will create a whole video on how wrong I am and how I don't know my own tastes. But the first line of the synopsis is, Alex Volkov is a devil blessed with the face of an angel and cursed with a past he can't escape. And honestly, that sounds like something that I will absolutely hate. The other main character, Ava Chen, is a free spirit trapped by nightmares of a childhood she can't remember. Her brother's best friend, her neighbour, her saviour and her downfall is the man that she shouldn't want. Like I said, I don't think I'm going to like it. Let me know if you disagree, if you think I might actually enjoy this, but I don't think I will. I just need to recap it for recaptains because that's what readers want. I also picked up One Last Stop. I've read one book by Casey McQuiston before, Red, White and Royal Blue, and I thought it was okay. It was an okay book. I'm hoping I'm going to enjoy this one more. This has a sort of time travel-y sort of element in it as well, or a time loop or something. And it's about two women who meet on the subway and one is from a different time period. I also picked up Part of Your World by Abby Jimenez because everyone has been talking about this one and they've made it sound really good. I don't know if I'm gonna love this one. From what I can tell, it's about an older woman and a slightly younger man who, one's from the city and one is from a farm, which is why there's a little goat on the cover. One day her car breaks down, he fixes it, and then they meet again at the pub later. This reminds me of the first episode of Heart of Dixie. So I'm a bit nervous because I'm really worried I'm gonna hate it, but it does sound like something that has potential and it might be quite cute, so I'm looking forward to reading this. I also picked up Once Upon a River. I've been eyeing this one up for ages and I keep seeing it in the charity shops, and I finally found a decent copy that's not like completely bent out of shape. It says here that it's set in an ancient inn on the Thames. There's a drowned corpse of a child, but then the dead girl stirs hours later. Is it a miracle or is it magic? I don't know anything else about this one, but I've seen it around and it does sound okay, so I'm gonna give it a go. Betty, which again I've seen around everywhere on Twitter and Instagram, but I don't know what it's about. It says that the main character was born in a bathtub to a white mother and a Cherokee father. Betty inhabits a world of poverty and loss, of lush landscapes and blazing stars. It's a literary fiction, historical sort of book, so looking forward to reading it when I'm in the mood for it. Girls of Riyadh. It says here that this is a rare and unforgettable insight into the complicated lives of Saudi women, whose amazing stories are unfolding in a culture so very different from our own. I've never heard of this one, to be honest. I just saw it in the charity shop and thought I would give it a go. I've never read anything set in Saudi Arabia, so it'll be interesting. At least I don't think I have, unless A Girl Like That is set in Saudi Arabia, which it might be. I'm now questioning myself, so that'll be interesting to read. I also picked up The Deep by Rivers Solomon. This is a very short novella, kind of about mermaids. It says here that Yetu holds the memories for her people, water-dwelling descendants of pregnant African slave women thrown overboard by slave owners. I've never read anything by this author before, I don't think, and I know that their writing can be a bit divisive, but I think the story sounds very interesting. I think it sounds like something I'm going to enjoy. A Fatal Crossing. This one is also set on a ship. It says here that it is a ship full of suspects, 2 detectives and 1 killer. This is a mystery book set in 1924, and I'm not going to read the synopsis because it might give something away, but there's some sort of investigation happening on a ship, which is quite cool. The Fisherman. This one is set in Nigeria. This is about 4 brothers who are ranging from I think 9 years old to 15, yeah, and they encounter a dangerous man along the river one day. This man gives them a prophecy which says the oldest brother will be killed by another. The prophecy then breaks their bond, and I think it's following the lives of the brothers and their conflict. It says that it was shortlisted for the Man Booker Prize a few years ago. I hope it's good. I've not really heard much about it. Night Crawling, which I did start to read, as you can see, for a book club that I was in, and then I couldn't attend the book club and I didn't bother to finish the book. So it says here that it's about a girl called Kiara who doesn't know what it's like to live as a normal 17-year-old. Her mother is in a halfway house and she fends for herself. She's being pressured to pay rent and also feed a 9-year-old called Trevor. She finds herself walking the streets after dark, determined to survive in a world that refuses to protect her. The writing style of this one was very intriguing and I think that it stood out, so I'm looking forward to continuing with this soon. It's a very short book, so I might try and finish it sometime in the near future when I try to get all the books that I'm currently reading off my shelf. Great Circle, which is another Booker Prize shortlister, so was not Night Crawling, by the way. This is part historical fiction about someone crash landed in Antarctica, and then years later someone is betraying the same woman in a show or a film or something, so it's following the 2 women in different time zones in different times who are sort of, I guess, experiencing a similar event. Really good, actually. I love this cover. It's not showing up the same on my camera, but this is like bright orange, and obviously the woman is crying. It says here that Maggie's marriage has ended just 608 days after it started, but she's fine. She's doing really good, actually. She's alone for the first time in her life, can't afford her rent, and her obscure PhD is going nowhere. But at the age of 29, Maggie is determined to embrace her new status as a surprisingly young divorcee. I'm looking forward to reading this one as well. Actually, I think it's going to be a very fun and easy read. I also picked up Furiously Happy from the charity shop. Most of these from the charity shop, in case you hadn't noticed. This is a funny book about horrible things. It's non-fiction and I just love the cover. It's so good. The Last Thing to Burn by Will Dean. I found this one in the charity shop as well. It's a very short book, so I might read it soon. On the back, it says her husband calls her Jane. That is not her name. She lives in a small farm cottage surrounded by vast open fields. Everywhere she looks there is space, but she is trapped. No one knows how she got to the UK. No one knows she is there. Visitors rarely come to the farm. If they do, she is never seen. For a long time, escape seemed impossible, but now something has changed and she has a reason to live and a reason to fight. Now she is watching him and waiting. I've heard really good things about this book. I don't know much about it. The synopsis is obviously quite vague, but I am looking forward to reading this soon. Again, it's quite short, so I might do a reading vlog or something, or a weekend where I only read short books. And now we're on to some thrillers. I got 2 Ashley Winstead books from The Works for very, very cheap. These are really expensive online, but I think I got them for like £5 each. We have The Last Housewife and In My Dreams I Hold a Knife. I don't know anything about these. I'm going to be doing a project on Ashley Winstead's books where I decide which one is best. I have her other 2 books as advanced readers copies. And then I think there's just one more that I need to get my hands on, if I remember correctly. So yeah, I'll be reading these very, very soon. Bad Things Happen Here. It's another one that I got from The Works for like £2. I don't know much about this one. I think it's a thriller book set on an island. I think in this one, young women keep dying. That's all I know. Killers of a Certain Age, another one that I got from The Works for about £2. From what I know about this one, these women in this book are older and they're assassins. That's all I really need to know. I think they get attacked one day and they have to go and fight back. The Three Dahlias. This one is set in an gothic-y sort of mansion, and there's a convention happening at the weekend where there is a bunch of famous people and a bunch of fans and a murder mystery, I think. That Night by Gillian McAllister, the author of Wrong Place, Wrong Time. This one I think is set in Italy during a family holiday, and the main character receives a call from her sister saying that she has killed a man. That's all I know. I really enjoy Gillian McAllister's books, so I'm looking forward to reading this one soon as well. And then I also have Hostage by Claire McIntosh. This one is a aeroplane thriller, which I've been really enjoying recently. And then I think the final books that I have to show you are either fantasy books or library books, and then we're almost done. I'm so sorry this has gone on for ages. I hope you guys are enjoying this book haul because it's taking forever and I'm losing my voice. Okay, so I actually lied about all of these being fantasy. This next set of books I'm going to show is actually sort of more sci-fi, starting with 1,000 Pieces of You, 10,000 Skies Above You, and A Million Worlds With You. These are time travel-y sci-fi books. I read the first one, really enjoyed it. I read it years ago and I never finished the series, so I managed to get my hands on them secondhand for fairly cheap, and I'm planning on marathoning this series soon now that I'm in the mood again for YA. Speaking of YA, I do have a few YA fantasy books here actually. The first one being These Violent Delights by Chloe Gong. This is a Romeo and Juliet retelling sort of thing set in Shanghai. I don't know anything else about it, but I've heard really good things. Everyone seems to love this, so that's why I picked it up when I saw it in the charity shop for £1. Twin Crowns. I know nothing about this one at all. Someone just asked me to recap it, so I picked it up when I saw it in the charity shop. Illusionary. This is the sequel to Incendiary, which I really enjoyed. I read this with my book club. Like I said, really enjoyed it, so I'm looking forward to finishing off the duology with this one sometime soon. The Wizard Heir, which is the sequel to, I think, The Warrior Heir, which I haven't read yet, but I have read this author's other books and I really enjoyed them. So I think I'm going to enjoy the first book and then I can read this. If I don't, then I can unhaul them both together. It was only £1 or 50p or something, so it's not a waste of money. I also picked up Nevermore, The Tales of Morrigan Crow. This is a middle grade fantasy book and everyone loves this one. Everyone. I've not seen a bad word said about this. It says here that the main character was cursed and destined to die on her 11th birthday. As the clock strikes midnight, she is whisked away by a remarkable man called Jupiter North and taken to the secret city of Nevermore. I also found Shadow and Flame in the charity shop as well. I've got the first book, which I haven't read yet. That's called Onyx and Ivory. But I was really shocked to find a fantasy hardcover in my local charity shop, and this was the start of some really good luck. I don't know what the first book is about, so I couldn't tell you. I also found in the charity shop Daughter of the Moon Goddess. I'm sorry, the light is so bright you can't really see what this is, but that's obviously the moon. This is about a girl who is raised on the moon. That's all I know. I think this is like a whimsical fantasy story. I've heard very good things about it. It has 2 sequels, I believe. My friends love it, so I picked it up for £1 Can you believe it? Also for £1 was The Stardust Thief in hardcover. My charity shop, there is someone around me who reads the same books that I do, because I found most of these in the same charity shop and I cannot believe my luck. I need to find out who this reader is so I can be friends with them. But yeah, I found a copy of The Stardust Thief recently. I don't know anything about this, but SA Chakraborty loved it and I'm looking forward to reading it. And then finally in this pile, I've still got library books to show you, but I'll fly through those at the end. I have some fantasy books that I bought because I was having a really bad month and I wanted to cheer myself up. So I have 2 books by Nikki Palprato, who is the author of Crown of Feathers, which I showed you earlier. I have the second and third books in the Crown of Feathers series, but the second one came without a dust jacket. So I need to return this because I'm very unhappy that they didn't disclose that this one didn't have a dust jacket. I know that Fourth Wing didn't either, but they at least warned me. This one said that it was like new. So I'm very annoyed that this has arrived without one. And then I have Wings of Shadow, which is the third book in the series. I'm looking forward to doing a marathon at some point, but I just love these covers, they're gorgeous. And then I also picked up Bonesmith by Nikki Palprato as well. This is about a necromancer. I don't really know much else about it, I'm going to be honest, but I love the cover and I think she seems like a really lovely person. Been talking for too long, I'm sorry. And I'm looking forward to reading those books. I also picked up The Jested Heir, which is a fantasy debut. I haven't heard that this one's amazing, to be honest. I did meet the author and she signed it for me at the same event where I met the other 2 authors. And she sold this book really well. She said it's about enemies to lovers, a fantasy book, and it sounded really well thought out. But my friends have said that the romance is just not great, so I'm a bit hesitant. But I love the sound of it, so I am excited to read it, but my expectations keep going up and down. And then I also picked up Immortal Longings by Chloe Gong. This is one that I got from Waterstones, and I don't like the US cover, and it didn't like intrigue me to the book at all. But this UK one is gorgeous, and it has this artwork in it, and I cannot believe the difference between the two. I just think it's stunning. It's also signed as well because it's an exclusive Waterstones edition. I got it for £5 with my Waterstones points, so could not say no. It's stunning. I don't know what it's about, but I expect it's going to be good, and I expect someone is going to want me to recap it, so I just got my hands on it when I was in the mood to pick it up. I also picked up Sea of Shadows by Kelly Armstrong. This is one that I also had from NetGalley or EW, I think, and didn't get around to reading. This one is based around like a forest of the dead, and there are souls that get banished to it or something. I've really liked Kelly Armstrong's writing in the past, so I'm looking forward to reading that. The Candle and the Flame. This was a complete cover buy. I think it's stunning. I don't really know what it's about at all, but I love the cover so much. Let's have a quick read. It's about gin, of course. I love stories about gin, so looking forward to reading this. I also picked up Wolf Song by TJ Klune. This was going really cheap considering it's a hardback, and all I know about this one is it's about gay werewolves and found family, and it sounds so cute, so I'm looking forward to reading this. And then they being my readers and users at Free Captains, they want me to recap the second book, so I need to read this and then get on to the sequels. Senlin Ascends. This one is about a guy whose wife dies or is taken away or something, and he has to go up the Tower of Babel, and each floor there is something different, a different challenge that he has to overcome. Age of Ash, which has been blowing up recently. I've noticed a lot of people love this one. The sequel came out very recently as well, and I think it's more of a companion sequel, which is then going to tie in with a third book from what I've heard. I don't really know what this is about at all. It's by one of the authors of The Expanse. It says here that it's set within the walls of a great city over the course of one tumultuous year. I don't know why that stopped recording. I was just saying that the main character is a petty thief from the slums and her brother is murdered. So I love a good fantasy murder mystery, so I'm looking forward to reading this one soon. Courting Darkness by Robin Lefebvre. So I am really in the mood for some assassin books. I read Grave Mercy back in the day, but I didn't remember loving it, but it's one of those books that I feel like I would really enjoy if I were to read it now. I'll get my hands on that again and then hopefully marathon the entire thing. I just picked this up because it was really, really cheap. And then my final fantasy book is The Obsidian Tower. I know nothing about this, but I really like this cover. Actually, now that I'm looking at it, it's actually quite good artwork. It says here that deep within the castle lies a black tower sealed by ancient magic. It guards a dangerous secret that has been contained for thousands of years. And I imagine the threat is going to be unleashed. I think it sounds good. I don't really know much about it. It's by the author of The Tethered Mage, which didn't receive the best reviews, but this one has had some really good reviews itself, so I'm looking forward to reading this. And then finally, we're going to quickly go over my library books, which I know even less about than all of these, and then we're done with this book haul. Thank you for watching if you made it this far. There's only a little bit left to go. I picked up Spin the Dawn from the library when I saw it there because I need to recap this one as well. This one is about a main character who is a teenager and she wants to be a tailor, the best tailor in all of the land. Because she is a girl, that's going to be very tricky for her. It says here that a royal messenger summons her father to court, and Maya seizes the chance to disguise herself as a man and travel to the Summer Palace to compete to be the king's favoured tailor. The Dead Romantics by Ashley Poston. This one is a romance book about ghosts, I think. Just Like Home by Sarah Gailey. No idea what this one's about. It's some sort of horror book. I'm going to read it in September. Winter Counts. Again, no idea what this one's about. It's been on my wish list for ages, but that's just because people have been saying good things and it's just about the vibes. Against the Loveless World. Again, this one is just about the vibes. It's been on my wish list for the longest time. It's set in an Israeli prison, I think, or the main character has been imprisoned. Dirty Laundry. No idea what this one's about. I got it from NetGalley and then got my hands on the physical copy as well, but I really don't know what it's about. The Silver Wind, which again I picked up on a whim because the vibes were good. I think it's about time travel. The Last Passenger by Will Dean, which is called The Last One in America, I think. This is set on a ship as well, so maybe I could do a themed reading vlog. I didn't actually plan for that, but maybe I could. It's a thriller set on a ship. The Drowned Woods by Emily Lloyd-Jones. This is Welsh fantasy, I think. I've read a book by this author before and loved it, so I'm hoping this is going to be really good. And finally, for this book haul, I have The Ferryman by Justin Crin, and this is a mystery horror, maybe? I don't actually know, but I've heard really good things about his writing, so I picked this one up. And with that, we are done. Thank you so much for watching this video. I cannot believe I have accumulated this many books from the charity shops in recent months. I'm really excited to read all of them. There's not one here that I want to unhaul right away, so that's really good. Thank you for watching. Please like and subscribe if you enjoyed it. Leave an emoji of any kind if you made it all the way through. I don't even have the brain cells to tell you which one. And I'll speak to you all in my next video. Bye.